Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, host and head bookologist here at the Get Literate podcast. I'm a book loving, notebook hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. On this podcast, we explore the power of bookology. What's that? That's the study of books and reading and notebooks and writing mixed with mindful practices and creativity to create lives we love. Here, you'll find episodes exploring the reading and writing life and how they can make our actual lives better. You'll get book recommendations and notebooking prompts around particular themes, and you'll even hear from authors and special guests who can fuel our reading and writing hearts and help us take inspired action in our own daily practices. So, grab a notebook and your TBR list, and let's get literate. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Get Literate podcast. We're going to go back in time today. I want to take you back to January of 2020. I know, that is likely a time of our lives that you do not want to return to. But for me, January 2020 signaled an important shift in the way I did things. And I know that the whole world experienced a shift in the way we did things, but this was a personal shift that I have kept up ever since, and I'm quite grateful for the opportunity to do so. So before 2020, I, like many of you, used to choose a one-word theme to guide my year. This is a practice that is pretty popular at this point, and there's a lot of fun and lead up to choosing our one word theme and expressing that theme and holding on to it all year long. I used to choose themes like savor, joy, family, right? And those themes would last the entire year through. But come 2020, the word that I picked for the year, and quite frankly, I don't even remember it at this point, I distinctly remember that by March, that word stopped being appropriate. That word stopped being relevant because the world was different. I was different, and my word needed to be different. And it was at that point, heading into March of 2020, that I decided I would no longer choose a one-word theme for the year. I was going to choose a one-word theme for each month. I didn't know what each month was going to bring, and I needed something to hold on to ground myself in the craziness of the world. And choosing a one-word theme for the month gave me the permission to hold on to a word and to let it go if I needed to. I've got to say, that was a game changer for me. And since March of 2020, I have been choosing one-word themes to guide my months ever since. Now, how do I embrace that one-word theme? Well, the world has all sorts of ways that we can do that. For me, as you know, the best way for me to bring the spirit of a one-word theme into my life is by incorporating it into my reading and writing. And so since then, my reading and writing has loose themes that run through them monthly in order to make me feel good and make life feel better. So about 2 years in to that personal journey, I started my Get Literate private community, and I invited everybody else in the world to join me on this one word monthly theme as well. That's when Get Literate was born. And since then, in January of 2022, we've been going strong with a one word theme ever since. Now, my favorite part of choosing my one word theme for every month is creating my bibliotherapy book calendar for it. I've had multiple episodes on bibliotherapy, what it is, what it could look like in your life. And for me, the best form of bibliotherapy is choosing a theme I want to embrace and then bringing it to life in a book calendar. Now, a book calendar is exactly what it sounds. It is a digital piece of paper where I recommend one book embracing my one word theme for every single day of the month for people to look at, to browse, and hopefully pick up for themselves. The process of creating that calendar is likely the most fun I have all month long. I think of that one word and I go. I go to the library and I look for books and talk to librarians. I go to my local bookstores and I browse and I read and I talk and I eavesdrop on other book buyers' conversations. I brew a really good cup of coffee and I settle into a digital exploration of my favorite reading websites and my favorite bloggers' lists. I spend lots of time on Amazon and Google Books so that I can get samples of those books and taste some of the text inside to see if it would be a good fit for the calendar. It is the most joyful bookish process. And I love creating those calendars and then sharing an episode with my private community that talks through each one of those books. Now, why is a book calendar so important? Why is bibliotherapy so important? Why is reading around a one-word theme so important? It literally primes our brain for what we want to embrace. If we are choosing books that are connected to that theme, embrace that theme, embody that theme, then as we read, our brains are getting primed and pumped and ready to receive that kind of theme in our actual lives. And it's not just woo, people. It is based on science and those special little neurons, I love talking about, those mirror neurons. When we read something, even though we are not experiencing it firsthand for ourselves, our neurons in our brain are firing just as they would if we were experiencing it. That's where the magic happens. If you want to embrace a new theme, a new way of thinking, a new way of being in your life, you got to believe that you can, and you have to get your brain ready for it. And reading books that let that theme soak into those cells and soak into those neurons is my preferred way of helping to make change in my life. Now, I share these calendars every month. It's my favorite episode, and we even have a hashtag that Michelle in our community made up. That's hashtag Stephanie made me do it. And it's a sorry, not sorry. Your wallet may not like you, but your brain, your body, the way that you operate in the world, it'll love you for all of the books you end up putting on your own bookshelf straight from my book calendars. So in this episode today, I want to talk about why you should start thinking about one-word themes to guide your reading life all year long. I want you to create those themes monthly, but I want you today to think about what a year-long calendar of reading could look like for you to help you feel better and be better and do better and whatever else you want to fill in the blank of that sentence. So that's what we are going to do today. And you might be thinking, why are you doing this now? Shouldn't this come in January where we could map out an entire year of reading? And I purposely waited until the middle of the year for this episode because I want you to be able to reflect on how the year has gone so far, both your actual life and your reading life, and then plan forward for what you want the rest of your year to look like in your actual life and in your reading life. So let's start with the why. I already gave you a little snippet into why planning out a thematic month of reading and a thematic year of reading is important. It primes our brain. It primes our mind to embrace whatever theme we are looking for. And in the process, it can support our nervous system in accepting those themes and feeling safe with those things, not to mention all the benefits that come with the physical act of reading. But choosing a monthly theme and then embracing books that accompany that theme helps us ensure that we are adding regular reflection into our lives, right? We all make, or most of us make, New Year's resolutions or set New Year's intentions. And sometimes you can get to the end of the year and think, where did that go? What happened with that? But if we start embedding in periodic, regular routines of reflection, and we can keep track of how things are going. We can stay up to date with how we want to be and how we want to feel and not get to the end of the year and wonder where it all went, or sometimes in my case, where that plan all went wrong. Now, that regular reflection and thinking about those themes and what you want out of your life throughout the year, well, it can boost our personal growth, of course. If we are investing time in ourselves, in our own spirit, in our own self-care, then we're going to get that personal growth. We're going to feel more creative. We're going to have that spirit of lifelong learning that we can make change in our lives whenever we want. And that feels good. It feels good to be intentional with anything that we're doing. But I think it feels really good to be intentional with our reading life. Not all the time, of course. Sometimes I just want to read the latest bestseller or whatever book Reese says I should. But most of the time, I love creating my own book apothecary in the spirit of bibliotherapy so that I'm using the power of my books to feel really good. So that's why I want you to do it. And I hope that I've convinced you to do it. So here's what I want us to do next. I want you to think about this month, April 2025, if you are listening to this episode in real time, and think about three things. Who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? And what do you want to do? Themes that you have likely heard me discuss on this podcast before. So take a couple of minutes and think about that. Maybe you are just sitting with those questions right now and you press pause. And as you do the dishes or walk the dog or fold the laundry, you're thinking about those three questions and what they mean to you. Maybe you want to press pause and you want to get out your notebook and you just do some stream of consciousness journaling, or perhaps you write a list that answers those three questions. Sit with it for a moment and see what comes up. There is no right answer. There is no wrong answer, but I promise you a couple of words are going to float to the surface, and I just want you to go with one. That is your gut response, your first instinct. You can't get it wrong. So pick one that reflects all of those things that you've just brainstormed for April. Once you have a word that you feel good about April, I want you to think forward to the rest of the year and beyond. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Stephanie, it took me a couple of minutes just to come up with April. How do I know all of those responses for the months ahead? I don't know what the calendar is going to bring, the world's going to bring, my life is going to bring. And I know you are right, but I actually think you do know who you want to be and how you want to feel and what you want to do in all of the remaining months of the year because you've lived years before this, right? So when I look at the one-word themes that I have cultivated for myself and for my community over time, there are patterns. So I may not choose the same exact words, but there are clear patterns in the words that I choose. And so I bet if you think for a moment by season, by month, generally, you'll be able to come up with a couple of words that will help you be the person you want to be in that particular time. So for example, if I start at the top of the year, January, my words are usually around reflection and renewal and fresh starts and just jumping into a new year. We move into February and we've got lots of words that usually embrace self-love or connection or relationships. Moving into March and April with the spring, we've got words like minimize for spring cleaning. We've had poetic for poetry month. We've had grow to really bring that season to life. As we move into summer, we have words like joy, explore, fun, delight, wanderlust. As we move into fall, things start to settle again. It's the back to school time. And so you might think of words like learn or passion or grow. That's where we're doing work and learning and thinking forward of the changes that we want to make. As we move into the later fall and into the winter, we might have some seasonal words like gather or thanks. And as we get to the end of the year, there's often words that focus on reflection and changing, right? So maybe there's words like rest, reflect, um, closure. So I bet if you just take a couple of moments, you could jot down one word for every month that remains through the rest of this year. And here's the thing, it's not set in stone. It just gives us a loose framework to feel really good about being so intentional and thinking forward about our reading life. So I suggest that you jot these down in whatever way works for you. But I did create a very simple calendar printable that you can use to brainstorm your one-word themes. You don't even have to pop your email in to get it. You just need to go to the show notes, click on the download, and the PDF will come right up so that you can add it to your Google Drive. But the best part hasn't even happened yet. So once you have your potential drafty year-long thematic reading calendar, it's time to set an artist date with yourself every month. Yes, I am channeling my inner Julia Cameron and the artist way, who says one of the best ways to feel good and get creative and move forward in your life is to take care of yourself, especially with an artist date, a date with just you and something you want to do. It's fun, it's creative, it's frivolous. For readers, it's going to the library, it's going to the bookstore, right? Every month, the top of the month, or maybe you do it at the end of the previous month, I want you to look at the one-word theme you've plotted out for yourself and ask yourself, does it work? Did the word I thought I would want to embrace at this period of the year actually hold true? If it does, great, move forward. If it doesn't, change gears. That is the beauty of the one word theme, monthly rather than yearly. And then take yourself on that artist date. Maybe it's to the library to browse books that embrace that theme and talk to the librarians that are there. Maybe it's an artist date to your local bookstore so that you can talk to the booksellers and eavesdrop on other people's bookish conversations to see books that you might like to have. Maybe you don't even leave your home, but you brew yourself a really good cup of coffee, you get your snuggly socks on, and you sit with your laptop or your iPad and you go to your favorite book blogs, you head to Google or ChatGPT or wherever you want to go to look for books and search for titles that could work. Spend some time finding them on Amazon to read the samples. You can buy them wherever you'd like, but those samples of the books they're gold to me. Head on to Google Books and see if you can get even more of a sample there. And choose a couple of books that might work for you in this month to help you bring that one-word theme to life. Doesn't mean you have to read them. Doesn't even have to mean you get the physical copies of all of them. It just means you're giving yourself the space and the mental bandwidth, that preparation of, if this is the word I want to bring to life, my reading can help me do that. And those artist dates are so much fun. Creating those book lists are so much fun. And here's the thing, when you do them monthly, right, you are giving yourself a gift all year long. You're allowing yourself this time, this lowered cortisol, lower stress, enjoy this creative act, because yes, choosing one-word themes and choosing books to read is a creative act. And we know that has a whole host of benefits on top of doing the actual reading. Now, you can keep track of these titles if you'd like. Maybe you have a page in your notebook of your one-word themes and the books that you've chosen. Maybe you just pop it into Goodreads or Storygraph, or maybe you do none of those things at all, and you just enjoy the books that you enjoy throughout the year and feel really good about harnessing the power of your reading life to make your actual life better. That is the point, after all, on this podcast. We haven't even explored how we could pair our writing with the reading. So if that's something that appeals to you as well, you'll have to let me know in the show notes, and maybe that could be a future episode. All right, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, that you are intrigued enough to print out that printable and map out a yearly thematic reading calendar for yourself to end the rest of 2025 with, and that you set your first date for an artist date and let yourself enjoy the process of choosing books that can help you move yourself to a better tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Share your comments and the show notes at alitlife.com. Find me on social media at @AfinitoLit, or better yet, click on that podcast audio button and leave me a message. And we would love to have you inside our Get Literate community. This is by far the most wonderful, kind, bookish group of people that you will ever meet on the internet. And we are all working together to bring all of these themes to life in our own lives to make our lives better along the way too. So if that interests you, I'd love to see you there. Click the link in the show notes, go to getliterate.co or head to Substack and find me there. And you can sign up for just $5 a month. You get a monthly book calendar, a book club, journal prompts, bonus episodes, periodic live events, and all sorts of other things. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you will go out and start that thematic reading calendar, and hopefully I'll see you inside my community and we can do this work together. See you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to join my Patreon community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing life, like bonus podcast episodes, book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking inspiration, live events, giveaways, and more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all of the previous content too. Learn more at getliterate.co. And one more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow, and it builds our bookish and notebookish community too. Thanks for listening.